6,000 years ago, in the flat, sun-baked land between two rivers, a civilization was writing down the oldest stories humanity has ever recorded. Not painting them on cave walls, not passing them mouth to mouth around a fire, actually writing them down, pressing wedge-shaped marks into clay tablets that would survive long after the cities that produced them had turned to dust. The Sumerians lived in what is now southern Iraq, in a world of scorching heat and unpredictable floods, where the rivers Tigris and Euphrates could bring life one season and devastation the next. They built the first cities. They invented writing. They developed mathematics, astronomy, and law. And they looked up at the same stars we look at today and told a story about where everything came from. That story is called the Enuma Elish, named after its opening words in the Sumerian language, "when on high." It is one of the oldest creation narratives ever written, older than the Bible, older than the Greek myths, older than almost anything we have preserved from the ancient world. And it begins, like so many creation stories, with water. Before the earth existed, before the sky existed, before any god had been given a name, there were two bodies of water. The first was Apsu. He was the freshwater ocean, the vast underground reservoir of sweet water that the Sumerians believed lay beneath the earth, feeding the rivers and wells and springs of the world above. Apsu was male, and he was ancient, and he had existed longer than memory could reach. The second was Tiamat. She was the saltwater ocean, the churning, storm-tossed body of water that surrounded the known world on every side. Tiamat was female, immense and powerful in a way that made the gods themselves uneasy. The Sumerians imagined her as a dragon, not the small, scaled creatures of later mythology, but something primordial and vast, a sea serpent the size of the horizon, her body the ocean itself. These two waters had always existed. They were not created. They simply were, in the same way that existence itself simply is. And where the fresh water of Apsu met the salt water of Tiamat, where the two mingled together in the darkness before time, something happened. Gods were born. The first gods were shapeless and strange, barely distinguishable from the chaos they had emerged from. But with each generation, the gods became more defined, more powerful, more distinctly themselves. Lamu and Lakamu came first, then Anshar and Kishar, the horizons of sky and earth, then Anu, the god of heaven, and from Anu came Ea, also known as Enki, the god of wisdom, magic, and the deep waters beneath the earth. With each generation, the gods grew louder, more active, more alive. And Apsu, the primordial father of all things, could not sleep. The younger gods were restless in the way that young things always are. They moved through the body of the primordial waters. They celebrated and argued and made noise, and the reverberations of their existence disturbed the deep stillness that Apsu had known since before time began. Apsu went to Tiamat with a proposal. He wanted to destroy them. Not out of cruelty exactly. The ancient texts present it more as exhaustion, the desperation of a being who had existed in perfect silence for uncountable ages and could no longer find rest. The young gods were too loud, too energetic, too relentlessly alive. Apsu wanted the quiet back. Tiamat refused. Whatever her reasons, and the ancient tablets are not entirely clear on this, Tiamat would not participate in the destruction of her children. She argued against it. She held back. But Apsu moved forward with his plan anyway, conspiring with his advisor Mumu to find a way to destroy the younger gods and restore the ancient silence. The younger gods discovered the plot. It was Ea, the wisest of all of them, the god of magic and deep knowledge, who acted first. Before Apsu could carry out his plan, Ea cast a spell of such power that it sent Apsu into a deep, enchanted sleep. And while Apsu slept, Ea killed him. He then built his home on top of Apsu's body, a palace above the deep waters, a place of wisdom and power. And there, in that palace built on the body of the slain primordial father, Ea's wife gave birth to a son. His name was Marduk. Marduk was not like the other gods. From the moment of his birth, it was clear that he was something exceptional. He had 4 eyes that could see in all directions simultaneously. He had 4 ears that caught every sound in existence. When he opened his mouth, fire came out. He was taller, stronger, and more radiant than any god that had come before him, and even Ea, his father, the wisest of the gods, looked at his son with something that might have been awe. But while Marduk was growing into his extraordinary power, something was changing among the older gods. Tiamat had stayed quiet after the death of Apsu. She had mourned, perhaps, or simply waited. But now other gods came to her, older, darker gods who resented the younger generation and had not forgotten what had been done to Apsu. They whispered in her ear. They told her that her children had murdered her husband and gone unpunished. They convinced her that the time for patience had ended. Tiamat listened. She gathered an army. From her own body she created monsters, 11 creatures of extraordinary power, serpents and dragons and storm demons, beings designed specifically to destroy the younger gods who had killed Apsu. She appointed a god named Kingu as the commander of her forces and gave him the Tablet of Destinies, an ancient artifact that carried within it the power to determine the fate of all things. Whoever held the Tablet of Destinies held power over reality itself. The younger gods were terrified. They sent Anu to negotiate with Tiamat. He returned without having spoken a single word to her. The sight of her army had silenced him completely. They sent Ea. He too came back having accomplished nothing. One by one, the gods tried and failed to find a solution, until finally someone suggested that there was only one god powerful enough to face Tiamat: Marduk. Marduk agreed to fight, but he had a condition. If he defeated Tiamat, he would become the supreme god, the king of all the gods, with authority over every other divine being in existence. The gods agreed without hesitation. They were desperate enough to promise anything. Marduk armed himself for the battle with everything at his disposal. He took the 4 winds as his weapons and called up storms and hurricanes and floods to fight alongside him. He built a great net to trap Tiamat. He carried lightning and flame, and he drove his chariot, pulled by 4 terrifying horses whose very breath was poison, toward the army of the ancient goddess. The battle that followed shook existence itself. Tiamat's army fought with everything it had, but Marduk was extraordinary, and the younger gods fought with the desperate energy of beings who understood that if they lost, everything ended. One by one, the monsters of Tiamat's army fell. Kingu was captured. The Tablet of Destinies was taken from him and bound to Marduk's chest, where it would remain. And then Marduk faced Tiamat herself. She opened her enormous mouth to swallow him, and Marduk drove the winds directly into her open jaws, filling her body with such force that she could not close her mouth, could not move, could not defend herself. Bloated and helpless, Tiamat was struck through the heart by Marduk's spear. The primordial mother of all things was dead. Marduk stood over her vast body and looked at what he had done. And then, with the calm deliberation of an architect surveying a building site, he decided what to do with it. He split her body in two. From the upper half of Tiamat's body, he made the sky, stretching it out above the earth like a great roof, holding back the waters of the heavens. From the lower half, he made the earth. He set up stations for the great gods. He assigned the stars their positions and gave them courses to follow across the sky. He created the moon and gave it its phases. He made the clouds from Tiamat's spittle. He caused the rivers Tigris and Euphrates to flow from her eyes. The world was made from the body of the thing that had tried to destroy the gods. The gods were grateful to Marduk. He was their king now, undisputed, and they built him a great city, Babylon, as both a home and a monument to his victory. But even with the world created and the gods at peace, something was missing. The gods still had to do their own labor. They still had to maintain the canals and the fields and the great works that kept existence functioning. They complained about it in the way that beings with infinite time on their hands can afford to complain, constantly and without much urgency, but persistently enough that Marduk eventually decided to solve the problem. He went to Ea, his father, the god of wisdom, with a proposal. He wanted to create servants, beings made for the specific purpose of doing the work that the gods found beneath them. Beings who would maintain the canals, cultivate the fields, build the temples, and perform the rituals that kept the divine order functioning. Ea asked a practical question. What would these servants be made from? Marduk had an answer ready. Kingu, the commander of Tiamat's army, the god who had been given the Tablet of Destinies and had led the forces of chaos against the younger gods, was brought forward. He was judged responsible for the war. His blood was taken, and from the blood of Kingu, mixed with clay from the earth, Ea shaped the first human beings. We were made from the blood of a defeated rebel, mixed into the soil of a world built from the body of a murdered goddess. The Sumerians did not find this troubling. They found it explanatory. It told them something true about the nature of human existence, that we were made for labor, that we carried within us something of the chaos of Tiamat, and that the purpose of human life was to serve the divine order that Marduk had established. The gods looked at what had been made and were satisfied. The world had its servants. The temples would be built. The canals would be maintained. The rituals would be performed. And Marduk, king of the gods, sat in his great city of Babylon and looked out over a world that had been built from war, from murder, from the bodies of the fallen, and called it good. The Enuma Elish was not just a story the Sumerians told around fires. It was recited every year at the Babylonian New Year festival, a public, ceremonial retelling of the creation of the world as a way of renewing the cosmic order for another year. The king himself would participate, standing before the statue of Marduk and reciting the deeds of the god who had made everything. They told this story because they believed it explained something real. The world is not peaceful. It was not born from peace. It was born from conflict between primal forces, from the murder of ancient powers, from the repurposing of what had been destroyed into something new. Humanity exists because a god needed workers. We carry in our blood something of the chaos that predated creation. And yet, out of all of that, the canals were dug, the cities were built, the stars were charted, and civilization began. There is something almost defiant in the Sumerian telling of this story. Something that says, we know where we came from, we know what the world is made of, and we built something extraordinary anyway. 2 rivers, 6,000 years, the oldest written story in the world. Next time, the Egyptians. A god who speaks the world into existence, a battle against the serpent of chaos that happens every single night, and a religion so obsessed with death that it produced monuments still standing after 4,000 years. This is old world lore. The myths are just beginning.